Hey, welcome back to the Gilbertson Aero Factory. Today is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. Continuing on getting ready to construct the leading edges. Yesterday got most of the work completed on the skins. Today we'll do most, if not all, of the work that needs to be done on the ribs. It shouldn't take as long as the skins did. And then we'll see about maybe starting to put this stuff together. So not a lot to talk about in this video. So let's just get into it and build an airplane.
This is about 3 hours of the 6 that I worked yesterday. This is sped up by a factor of 20. Camera kept overheating in this higher location in the garage. So, yeah, it was only able to catch about 3 hours of it, although it's sort of split up into some segments. So all of the operations that I did yesterday were actually captured, just not in their entirety. So I'm starting on rib prep here, just making sure that I have them properly sorted so that they go back in the same spot on the spar, and then doing some cleanup on those skinny aluminum pieces that you see. There's one on the table, and I'm over at the Scotch-Brite wheel cleaning up the edges on the other one. These are the splice plates. They basically create a joint between the fuel tank and the leading edge. So on the fuel tank side of it, it's got a bunch of nut plates that will be attached so that can screw on there, and then it's riveted to the leading edge. Struggling with these gloves that are too small. I can barely fit my hands into large latex gloves, and I accidentally bought a box of medium. And no, I'm not going to use the whole box. I just didn't want to jump in the truck and drive 90 minutes to get the correct size. I just wanted to be productive. So at any rate, I'm wearing the gloves, of course, because I need to get these things cleaned up and ready for priming. And part of that is making sure that there aren't oils from my skin on there. So I'm just going through and cleaning up everything with acetone. And if you look closely, I'm basically cleaning the rivet lines. I'm not going to scuff and prime the entire rib, just the mating surfaces. And you saw the day before that I did the mating surfaces of the skins, priming the inside, just the rivet lines. So that's what I'm going to do here. So deburring holes. I said that the ribs wouldn't take as long, and they kind of didn't take as long. It's still a lot of pieces, but at the beginning of the wing construction, when I did my week of rib prep hell, most of the prep was done on those ribs. So they've already been edge finished and deburred, and where those split flanges are around the nose of the rib, those have been knocked down so that they don't poke any weird creases in the skin as it gets wrapped around. That's all been done. It still takes a long time just to scuff, clean, and prime. If I wasn't going to prime this stuff, then it would just be, yeah, cool, this stuff's ready to go. The only thing that I would have to prep at this point would just be to clean up those splice plates, and then everything else would go together. So I spent a significant amount of time doing this. What you see me doing there is there are total, on each side, on each wing, there are a total of 6 of these leading edge ribs, 2 end ribs, which are unique to themselves. You can't get them switched around. And then there are 2 pairs of ribs, an inner and an outer one, that are sort of matched pairs. And on the left wing, some of the markings got smeared or wiped, and so what I was doing over there was going back over and placing the rib, sort of test fitting it onto the spar to check the alignment of the holes to see if there was any variation between one and the other of the matching pairs. Since everything's already been match drilled, and I found on the left wing, I found a little bit of tiniest, like a 64th or less of an inch, barely perceptible variation from one to the other, and that helped me number them out and make sure that the numbering was correct. On the right wing, all those numbers stayed in place. Just a long time doing this. When the camera cuts out, what you're missing out in this bit would be priming, which is not exciting. I'll move over to the table in the back of the garage, or the far end of the garage, and do the boring business of cleaning them thoroughly with some mild dish soap, and then rinsing them, and then coming back and then wiping them all down with the acetone, making sure there isn't any remaining residue. It's kind of funny because the last time that I did this operation was when I was prepping to build the tanks, and that's like cleaning them for surgery, like so incredibly clean down to the fraction of a micron. And as I was doing this for these ribs to put some primer on there, I kind of had to remind myself, I'm just putting primer on here. I'm not trying to create a perfect airtight, watertight, fuel-tight bond with ProSeal, which, by the way, turned out great. All that cleaning really paid off. On the tanks, at least at this point, I have not been able to detect any sort of leakage, seepage, anything around any of the ribs or the stiffeners, and that was something that I was really crossing my fingers about, because I didn't go crazy with the sealant on that. I just tried to emulate the work that Scott McDaniels did and follow his technique and his so-called philosophy on sealing, identifying where the leak paths are, and how thick that actual layer of sealant is going to be between the mating parts. So obviously we've time jumped forward here. I finished up all the ribs, and what you see in my hand right here and the big hole in that skin, this is the skin for the left leading edge, and it has an access plate cover, or an access plate that needs to be mounted, even though there's nothing for me that is going to need to be accessible in there. The whole reason for this is a stall warning system, like you're used to if you fly airplanes and you've got your private pilot's license. You go out and you check the little, on a Piper, a little tab, or the little opening in a Cessna wing, or whatever the particular one is. But the stall warning system on the wing, this is to mount that, but I'm not putting that on my airplane, not because I don't want to be warned of an impending stall, but because my pitot mast and will include an angle of attack probe. So I'm going to use AOA instead. This is optional, but I still need to put the access cover on there because I'll have a big hole in my wing if I don't. So that's what I'm doing, is getting that thing cleaned up and prepped and ready to go, and then we'll get into dimpling these skins. And there's sort of a choice that I have to make, because part of this skin being pre-punched for the stall warner is that there are two small holes in the very nose of that skin. There are some other holes in there that I can just go ahead and dimple and put flush rivets in there to close those holes. But the two holes in the nose of the skin, I don't think that you can safely put a flush rivet in there without deforming that nose locally by trying to put a dimple in it. So I'm thinking about what I'm going to do about that right now. But as far as the work that was completed yesterday, I got all the way through completely dimpling both of the skins. All the ribs are prepped and primed. So getting in today's work will be dimpling the ribs, attaching the access plate to the left wing, and then we'll see if we can start getting these things into a cradle and actually riveting them together, because these are built off the wing. So that's it for 89. We'll see you in 90. Thanks for being here.